This is a video of a 2024 paddle on the Jordan River in Utah from the Parry Farms Baseball Fields Park at about 150 south in Bluffdale to Draper's Jordan River Rotary Park at about 123 south during an uncommon spring runoff water release. It includes two river sections. The sections of the Jordan River marked in blue on the Jordan River Commission's Jordan River Water Trail map are usually pretty mellow and good for beginning paddlers. But the first section of this paddle is an intermediate section of the river marked in orange. There are a few reasons for that. First of all, it often doesn't have enough water in it to be navigable, so you need to check the water level before paddling it. Second of all, when water levels are modest, it's a narrow section of the river with some turns that need some decent boat handling skills. And thirdly, sometimes some parts of this section can get a little overgrown with invasive phragmites and be a little hard to navigate. The reason that this section often doesn't have enough water in it to be navigable is because during the summer the great majority of the Jordan River's water from Utah Lake is diverted into irrigation canals in the Jordan Narrows or point of the mountain just before this river section. The Mormon pioneers arrived in Utah in 1847 and immediately began diverting water from streams and rivers to grow crops. In 1853, work began on the first major irrigation canal on the Jordan River, the North Jordan Canal. Then people figured out that if they built canals that started in the Jordan Narrows or point of the mountain at the Salt Lake County and Utah County border, that they could deliver water to much of the Salt Lake County Valley. So in 1870, construction started on canals from the Jordan Narrows into the Salt Lake Valley. In 1883, the Salt Lake County Court awarded 5/6 of the water rights to Jordan River water to 5 existing canal companies, and in 1888, they awarded the remaining 1/6 of the water to Salt Lake City. So after that, the Jordan River and its ecosystem had no legal rights to its water. By 1900, 50,000 acres in the Salt Lake Valley were being irrigated with water from the Jordan River. The canals originating in the Jordan Narrows were an important key to allowing the Wasatch Front population and economy to grow when Utah had more of an agricultural economy, and now they help people keep their lawns green. But a trade-off is that it removes a lot of water from the river, its ecosystem, wetlands, and the Great Salt Lake. Since the irrigation canal companies and other water right holders have 100% of the water rights to the water coming from Utah Lake into the Jordan River, the water managers often don't leave much water in the river after the Jordan Narrows or point of the mountain. For example, here is what the Jordan River looks like in Lehi before the water is diverted into canals in the Jordan Narrows. The river here is wide and deep in the summer when the canal companies are releasing water from Utah Lake to supply their irrigation canals. But here is what the Jordan River often looks like after the second diversion dam in the Jordan Narrows, after water has been diverted into all the irrigation canals. This was in the summer of 2021, which was a drought year, and the canal companies that year had completely closed the second diversion dam in the Jordan Narrows to divert 100% of the Jordan River water there into the irrigation canals. But after the Jordan Narrows, more streams, springs, and water sources feed into the river and make it navigable again. This Bluffdale River section starts just 1.6 miles south of the second dam in the Jordan Narrows, so that is why this river section doesn't often have enough water to be navigable. This river section starts near Parry Farms Baseball Fields Park at about 150 south in Bluffdale. It has a new cement boat ramp just downstream of a pedestrian bridge over the river. You can get an idea if this river section will have enough water in it to be navigable by looking at the rocks in the river on the west side of the pedestrian bridge at the start of this river section. If there is enough water for you to paddle over those rocks, there should be enough water to paddle this section, but if there isn't, there might not be enough water in it. But here's what the water level looked like when we did this paddle. This paddle was done in June of 2024 after Utah had 2 consecutive years of good winter snowpack. So Utah Lake was at 103% of its full level when we did this paddle. So water managers were releasing a lot of water into the Jordan River at Joint Dam just 1.6 miles before this river section to get the Utah Lake water level down. The last time Utah Lake had reached full capacity before this was in 2011, so these spring runoff water releases don't happen too often. So we had a much higher than normal amount of water for this paddle, and it really changed the nature of this river section. Normally it has a lot of narrow sections with modest current, but today the river level was high and wide with quick current, and a lot of mini islands you normally have to dodge were underwater. For example, here is what the beginning of this river section looked like the previous year in 2023. And here is what the same river stretch was like today when we did this paddle in 2024. Today this river bend had a large blockage that was made mostly with Phragmites stalks. Since the Jordan River has beaver in it, I wonder if this had a beaver lodge in it with lots of extra Phragmites stalks around it to protect it from the strong current caused by the spring water release. This is the Bangor Highway Bridge that is 2/10 of a mile before a bend in the river with a natural riverbank access spot that can be accessed from the Arrow Trailhead. The boulders in this river bend a little downstream or north of the Bangor Highway Bridge are a natural public river access spot that mark the end of this river section. We could climb out on them and exit here near the Arrow Trailhead. But because the Arrow Trailhead at the end of this river section requires a 6/10 of a mile portage to get to the parking lot, most people who paddle this river section opt to also combine it with paddling the next river section as well. So we will paddle the next river section as well today. The next section borders the 250-acre Galena Suncani Preserve, where Native Americans used to live. It is usually the first river section in Salt Lake County after the Jordan Narrows to have enough water in it to paddle.
Now that we've got everyone here, we're just entering an area that's called the Galena-Sunkani Preserve, and it's about a 240-acre preserve that was part of a remediation as some of the highway projects that have affected wetlands in this area have been constructed. It was acquired, I think, as part of the Bangor Highway development, and it's managed by the Forestry, Fire, and State Lands Division.
Sorry.
And this is an area that we've been doing a lot of trial work with part of our staff and affiliates with the Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Lands to learn methods that work around the Jordan River for managing Russian olive, tamarisk, and phragmites, which are the 3 invasive species. They've been doing kind of focus work here for about 3 years now, and we've just received some new funding sources, and so all of that pilot work is now being expanded to other parts of the river, and eventually including the area that we just paddled through to try and help manage some of those invasive species. All right, we're going to go around a couple of bends. The river kind of opens up here a little bit, so I don't think we're going to have any of the same issues that we've had so far. We've been accumulating water through springs and groundwater, some storm water. You may have seen a couple of the stormwater outlets, including around Bangor Highway. Just around a couple of bends, you can't quite see it here, but this is the water reclamation plant that's part of the South Valley Sewer District that serves most of the south part of the Salt Lake Valley with treated water. It's really interesting when we pass the plant, you'll see water coming out of the effluent that's crystal clear. And it takes about a half mile before it kind of blends with the river. Normally we about double the river flow going past the plant. There's enough water now, it probably won't add a ton to it. But you typically past this point, it becomes just a lot easier to navigate the river.
This is the 12300 to 12600 South Bridge that is just 2/10 of a mile before the Draper Jordan River Rotary Park boat ramp on River Right that is the end of this river section and the start of the next river section. Here's the Draper Jordan River Rotary Park boat ramp where we will end this video. It's a nice park with drinking fountains, restrooms, and parking, and is a great place to end or start a paddle.